because we want to celebrate. So hopefully, if there's anything that you guys are working on, hopefully you'll let somebody know and have somebody hold you accountable for it. That's why we have accountability partners, and have somebody willing to hold you accountable for that. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. That's all I've got for announcements. If I missed anything, we'll be sure to let you know. I'm going to go ahead and start with the lesson. Megan asked me to do the lesson today, and I wanted to do it on relapse, the causes of relapse and prevention of relapse. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Patrick. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ and celebrating recovery and victory over alcohol and sexual addiction. And I'm glad to be here tonight. I'm glad that you guys are here. Tonight I want to talk about relapse, causes and prevention. But most of all, I want to assure you of two things. Relapse does not have to be a part of recovery. But if you do relapse, it doesn't have to mean the end of your recovery. Relapse is just a blip in the road. And we're... Sorry guys, we got some people joining us. Got a little distracted there. All right, so relapse. It does not have to be a part of your recovery. If you do relapse, it doesn't have to mean the end of your recovery. We've been through an unprecedented time in the last 3 months. I don't know if you guys are aware of that or not. Maybe you've heard something about that. But it's been really tough, especially on the recovery community. It's been a tough time to be isolated, to be separated from loved ones. Meetings have been canceled and moved to internet, and that can be more comfortable for some people than it is for others. We've all been stuck in the house, which can be isolating to people and can make it difficult to connect with other people. Many people have not been working, and for those of you that have not been working, that gives you extra time on your hands. And I know when I have extra time on my hands, I don't know what to do. I get lost. I'm searching. I'm a person who goes, and so when I lose my busyness, and I found that even affected me through this, even though I was working, because so many of the things that I did outside of work got into that. So that can play into it too. And your family's home too. You know, for those of you that have family, there's a lot of family togetherness and family closeness that's going on during this time. And so that can cause additional conflict and add additional stressors to what we've all been going through. Mark 14:38 says, "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." That's a good verse to kind of keep in mind. And I think where it deals with relapse is in that it says temptation, because that's where a relapse starts. And the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. We're willing to stick with it, but our flesh is weak. That's what allows the temptation to come in. So we're going to discuss some of the most common causes of relapse and ways to prevent it. First, the causes of relapse. The first thing we need to know is how to define relapse. To identify if we've relapsed or to prevent it. Substance abuse can be a lot easier to define relapse than many of the other things that we struggle with. For substance abuse, for me it was alcohol. I could stop going to the bar. But for somebody who struggles with a food addiction, you can't stop eating. So that's going to change. But for substance abuse, it's going into a bar. For me, Buffalo Wild Wings was my bar of choice. And so I don't go into Buffalo Wild Wings without a good reason, and I don't go by myself. That's a boundary that I've put up. That's a rule that I've put up, and that helps me to prevent relapse. Going into a liquor store. For many people, that can be a temptation with substance abuse. Or being around people abusing drugs or alcohol. Food addiction, it's one of the ones you define your own boundaries. You can do things as not snack between meals, not eat due to emotion or feelings, and not snack after 7 p.m. Those are just some examples that I came up with. But again, you kind of have to define those things, and those can be the things that send you into a cycle of relapse. Relapse is a cycle. It's not something that just happens. It tends to have a cycle. For anger and emotional healing, lashing out in anger at others, continuing conflict rather than walking away, looking for reasons to be angry. Anger and emotional healing, they look different for different people. For me, my anger didn't look red in the face yelling at you. My anger came across like this, me talking like this. But what was going on inside was my anger. And I still said the mean and cutting things to people that hurt them and caused a lot of damage in relationships. So I was able to justify that I wasn't an angry person because I wasn't this picture of anger that I had in my head, or that maybe I saw exemplified in other people. But it was just me justifying my own anger. Codependency. I got this from it's called a checklist of symptoms leading to codependent relapse. I'm going to go over just a few of these. A codependent is a person who has let someone else's behavior affect him or her and is obsessed with controlling others' behavior. Minimize, alter, or deny how I'm truly feeling. Judge everything I say or do harshly as never good enough. I do not ask others to meet my needs or desires. I do not perceive myself as lovable or worthwhile. I compromise my own values and integrity to avoid rejection or others' anger. I value others' opinions and feelings more than my own, and am often afraid to express differing opinions and feelings of my own. And that's just an example. And again, I got that online. So there's a lot of resources online. For sexual integrity, that can be looking at attractive men or women longer than necessary, thinking about an attractive person for extended periods of time, watching inappropriate shows, going places to watch people where they might be dressed inappropriately, or allowing yourself to focus on memories of pornographic material. Those are just a few examples. So there's lots of different examples of causes of relapse. And causes of relapse are important to understand, and they're important to know, because relapse is a process. From all of my experience in recovery and dealing with other people, and even dealing with myself, especially dealing with myself, I know that relapse is a process. It starts up here. It starts in my mind. It starts with, what am I thinking? What am I thinking about? What am I focused on? Where is my focus? Am I letting things bother me unnecessarily? Am I letting things get to me in a different way than I normally do? There's just a lot of different things that are going on that cause a relapse. It feels like you're walking down the street one day and you end up relapsing, but that's simply not the case. And when you have a good sponsor or accountability team, you have people that are holding you accountable. They can help you to see those patterns and see what's going on and see those causes that are happening before they become a relapse. In my experience, a mental relapse happens before a physical relapse does. A mental relapse is simply thinking wrong, simply putting yourself on a path to physically relapse. If you stop it at the mental relapse, you're a step ahead. You haven't physically relapsed. You just need to correct your thinking, and you need to fix some things in order to get yourself righted. Again, that's where a sponsor and accountability team comes into play. They can help you to see those things and identify those things. So we're going to talk about preventing a relapse. Again, relapse can be physical or mental. Thinking about drugs, alcohol, pornography, something that made you angry, or a situation someone else is in that you're trying to control or fix. Mental relapse is an opportunity to correct yourself. It's not a sign of weakness. Okay, I can beat myself up really good when I have a mental relapse. When I start that process, when I start that stinking thinking, when I start all of that stuff, I can really start beating myself up. And what happens when I start beating myself up over that is I give myself permission to continue the relapse. okay? Because now I start negative talk, I start beating myself up, you know, it's not worth it, I can't do this. I start listening to all those voices in my head. They come from the enemy, they come from my life experiences. What was I told as a kid? What did people say to me? All of those things that have come into play in my life, they all come at me when I allow that in. And it starts with that mental relapse. It starts when I stop thinking about my recovery and about the things that are important and the things that hold me together, and I start thinking about the things that have made me collapse. A big thing is be honest with yourself. Romans 3:3 says, don't think you're better than you really are. Be honest in your evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given us. Know your own signs of relapse. The heart check. If you have any of these things, you could be on your way to a relapse. Hurting, exhausted, angry, resentful, tense. That's heart, H-E-A-R-T. This is kind of a good self-check that you can go through as when you start feeling all of these emotions and all these feelings coming in. Kind of break it down. What is this? Where is this coming from? What's causing all of this to come into play right now? And by looking at that, have I been working too much? Have I been pushing myself too much? So when I identify what's causing it, I can also identify what I need to do to fix it. What do I need to step back from something? Do I need to take a break? Do I need to sleep a little bit more? Do I need to go to bed before midnight? Do I need to sleep in a little bit and not push myself so much to get up early in the morning? What are the different things that I can do? And again, the important thing with the heart check is look at yourself. Okay, if you're angry, being angry and how do I deal with that doesn't mean if only that person would be out would stop doing this to me. Okay, look at yourself. What can you do? I can only control me, right? So what can I do to remove myself from a given situation? What can I do to have that person stop bothering me so much? You know, sometimes what people say and how people interact with me bothers me, but it's not because of what they're saying or how they're saying it, it's because of how I'm feeling. How I'm feeling inside. I perceive what's being said differently, simply because of where I'm at. So try to focus on yourself. And again, utilizing your accountability team is going to help you to identify what's your part in it and what's somebody else's part in it. What do I need to forgive? What do I need to change? Those kind of things. If you're not honest with yourself, you can't be honest with others. If I'm not, the first lie I tell is always to myself. Okay? I am great at lying. I'm not proud of that, but I'm great at it because it's what I did for so long when I was in my addictions. I had to lie all the time. So in order for me to lie, I have to tell that lie to myself. And it goes through this filter in my brain that is amazingly fast that I can poke holes in it and I can say, what if they say this? And I can make that lie as good as it can possibly be before it ever comes out of my mouth. And it happens so fast, it actually scares me. It scared me when I realized that when I was early in recovery. All right? So be honest with yourself so that you can be honest with others. Whatever you're going through, God already knows, and He's not mad. Okay? That's important to know because that's the first thing you're going to think is I'm on this walk. I want to be this believer in Christ. I want to get better, and now I'm this terrible person, and God's mad at me, and God's never going to understand. He already knows, and He still loves you. He understands. He wants to help you through it. He wants you to trust Him. Okay, that's important to know. He still wants you to bring it to Him. Okay, even though He already knows, He still wants you to talk to Him about it. It's like a friend who knows something that's going on with you, and they're not going to say anything. They want you to bring it to them. Okay, that's how God works. Know your own body. Did you know your body warns you of these things? It was early in my recovery when I learned that, and I can't believe I didn't know it my whole life. But I was so used to the tension in my neck. I was so used to the sweaty armpits. I was so used to all the physical indications of the stress that I was under that I didn't even know that I could live life without them. Okay, I just thought that was just how I was all the time. All right, so know your body and know those warning signs. Again, for me, it was tension in the neck, sweaty armpits. It was things like that. I remember I'd be in conflict and I'd be thinking about it, and I was really trying to work my recovery, and I'm walking and I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm like, why is my neck so tense? And why am I sweating? You know, I shouldn't be. And then I realized that was my body. It was my body telling me what was going on, that I was under this stress. And once I started figuring that stuff out and I started working on it, guess what? Those symptoms went away. Those signs went away. Now I can still feel them a little bit, but I catch on to them quicker. And when I catch on to them quicker, I can deal with them quicker. All right? So know your body and know those warning signs. And guys, that's from God. God gives us that. Just for that reason, he wants us to have those warning signs. I've said this several times, but use your sponsor or accountability team. Be honest and tell someone what's going on. Use your tools. We spend all of this time in recovery, and we get all these tools, and then then my life falls apart, and I say, I don't need those tools. I can fix this. And I throw all those tools off to the side, and I wonder why it's so hard. It's so hard because I'm not using the things that I need to use. So be honest and tell someone what's going on. I'm going to go through the thought process of, I don't want to bother anybody. It's not that big of a deal. You know, oh, they're so busy. They told me the other day that they had all this stuff going on this weekend. I can't call and bother them with that. Well, first of all, you should have more than one person you can call, okay? If you have a team of people, because I can be your accountability partner, I can be a sponsor, but I can't be available 24/7. I have to work, I have things that are going on in my life, but you should have more than one person that you can reach out to. You want to have more than one person you can reach out to, okay? Because you need to have somebody available, and like I said, we can't all be available 24/7. Call before you relapse. Don't call after. You know, as a sponsor, as an accountability partner, I'll help you if you call after. I really will, but I'd rather help you before. I'd really rather help you before, because I know that it's going to be easier for you. It doesn't make it any easier or any harder on me as a sponsor, as an accountability partner. What it makes it easier on is you. It's an easier recovery. It's an opportunity. See these things as an opportunity. Again, you should have a team. You should have more than one person. Have as many people as you feel like you need, but have a couple people that are your core. All right. So you have somebody that you can call in an emergency, that you can talk to, but that doesn't mean don't talk to your sponsor. Don't talk to that core. That gets you by for a little bit. But go to your sponsor, go to your core accountability partner, and talk to them, because you've got a different relationship with them. So just because you talk to one person doesn't mean you stop there. It's okay to talk to more than one person about it. Sometimes you need different perspectives. Work the 8 principles. We talk about the 8 principles all the time. You need to work them. And you need to work them in every circumstance. Work them in everything, because if I work those when I have a little thing going on, it stops the big thing from happening. I don't have to wait for the big thing to happen before I start applying the principles or the steps. That's what they're there for. So maybe you need to do another 4th step. Okay? So part of that talking with your sponsor is let's do another 4th step. This other thing's come up. I need to work through that. So you need to work those principles. And a relapse can also be an indication that you haven't fully worked one of those steps. Okay? When I've done multiple 4th steps. None of my multiple 4th steps have ever looked the same. There's always been different stuff that's come up. The reason there's different stuff that comes up is because I need to deal with that stuff. That stuff comes to the forefront at different times, and it's time for me to work on it. All right? So I don't know, there's no automatic. with a relapse, that this is the step you need to work on. Oftentimes it is the fourth step, but it could be making an amends. Okay, it could be offering someone for forgiveness. There's lots of different things that could be causing it. I think I said this, but use them in all circumstances, not just your main recovery issue. All right. So I'm working on alcohol and sexual addiction, but if I pretend like the principles don't apply when I get angry, you know, I don't work them when I get angry. Guess what? It's going to lead me closer to a relapse in my sexual integrity or in my alcohol. So I need to work it in everything. If I get angry, if I'm being codependent with someone, if I'm being too needy, whatever it is, it's going to look different for everybody. But work those principles. Go to your meetings or your small groups. Make those a priority, especially if you're struggling. Okay, the meetings that I really felt like I don't want to go to this meeting, those were usually the meetings I needed to be at the most. Because guess what? When I sat my butt in the seat and I listened to what somebody else said, it hit me. Something I probably heard a million times. All of a sudden it hit me, and I realized that that's exactly what I was doing. And I also realized that I'm not alone. Okay, I can isolate myself so much. You know, I call it terminal uniqueness. Many of my friends have heard me say this. In my addiction, I was terminally unique. Okay, nobody had to deal with the things I had to deal with. Nobody had to deal with my life. You know, this is just what I have to deal with. This is my cross to bear, so to speak. And I started going to recovery meetings, and guess what? I heard my stories in other people. I read books that were written in the 1930s and the 1940s, and those guys were pulling the same shenanigans that I was pulling, that I thought I invented. I thought that was my move. You know, I thought that was me. But it turns out that I wasn't so unique. Turns out somebody else thought of that. And somebody else tried that trick. And it didn't work. Guess what? It didn't work for them either. Right? So, all right. Pray and meditate. Okay? Prayer and meditation is so important. Prayer is talking to God. Meditation is taking a minute and listening to Him. Guess what, everybody? I'm really good at talking to God. I'm not really good at taking time to listen to Him. I say, God, I'll get back to you on that answer. Okay, I only had 10 minutes. Only had 10 minutes allotted for this prayer time. Sorry, I don't have time to listen. I talked a little bit longer than I thought I would. So meditation is just taking that time, making sure that you have time to listen to what God has to say. You know, what is He nudging you to? Is he putting your sponsor on your mind? Maybe you need to call your sponsor. You know, He's going to do a lot of different things, but He's always listening, and He's always going to help you. Go as often as you need. Okay? Don't think that one meeting a week is enough. If you need 5 meetings a week, go to 5 meetings a week. Go to 90 and 90. That's a popular term in recovery. Whatever it is that you need. And know that number will change. Okay? When I first came into recovery, I went to lots of meetings. I went to meetings all the time. And as my recovery got a little bit better, I started filtering in other things. Okay? But I never brought something else in. I never gave something up if I didn't have something to replace it. Okay? I wanted to make sure that I had something there to replace it, that I wasn't just not going to a meeting because I wanted to sit at home and pet the cat. Okay? That should make a few of you laugh, but I didn't really ever do that. All right? But the thing is I had to have something to replace it with. Okay? If I'm going to give up a meeting, I want something different. So I always checked myself, and that's where I used my accountability team. I used my sponsor. I used my accountability partners. I'm thinking about doing this. Is my thinking right? Okay? I never trust my own thinking. You hear that a lot in recovery. Don't trust your own thinking. So I don't. Philippians 4:6 and 7 says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, With thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all comprehension, will guard your hearts and your mind in Christ Jesus. That's a good verse to kind of keep in mind. And know that you are who he says you are. Okay, regardless of the voices in your head, know that God loves you, God treasures you, God wants you healthy and whole. Anything else is just lies that we tell ourselves. Okay, so God's there, and if you can focus on that truth in a time of need, it can help you to make it through a struggle. Stop believing the lies that you're not good enough or you can't do it. You can do it, and guess what? We'll help you. All right. 1 Thessalonians 5:21. But examine everything carefully and hold fast to that which is good. Okay, examine everything, but hold fast to what's good. Hold on to what you know to be true. When you struggle to see it, guess what? Your accountability partner, your sponsor, your friends, your family. There's lots of people out there who are happy to remind you of who you are, of what they value about you. Write a gratitude list. Okay? Write a gratitude list when things are going good. Don't wait until you're struggling to write a gratitude list, because it's much harder that way, trust me. Okay? Write it when things are going good. Write that gratitude list, keep it in a pocket, keep it somewhere where you can grab it, because then when things get hard, grab that gratitude list and remember those things. What are you grateful for? I talk about my get-tos a lot of times. Okay? It's real easy for my get-tos to become have-tos. Okay? I have to go do this. I have to go to work. No, I get to go to work. I have to go to church. No, I get to go to church. All right? There's been times when I couldn't do that. There's times recently when I couldn't go to church. I wanted to go to church and I couldn't, okay? But there's opportunities out there, all right? So hold on to those things that are good. And here's the most important thing. Celebrate your victories. Share them with your accountability team. Share them with newcomers. Be available to sponsor or hold others accountable. Give back what's been so freely given to you. In conclusion, I'm going to wrap this up, but trust the process. Trust the process of recovery, the steps, the principles. Trust the people around you that are telling you that it'll work. Just trust that process. Trust other people. That can be the hardest thing when you're new in recovery, is to trust somebody else, especially to trust somebody else with these deep, dark secrets that you've been holding in for so long. But those secrets will lead to a relapse. Those secrets will make you struggle. Those secrets will keep you down. All right, so trust others. Trust yourself. It's okay to trust yourself. It's okay. It's okay to love yourself. Make meetings a priority. Surround yourself with healthy people and stay away from unhealthy people. That seems simple, but it's hard to do. All right, you have lifelong friends that aren't healthy for you anymore now that you're in recovery. Find a way to let that go. But know that there's other people. There's people in recovery that are people that are healthy, that are going to come around you, that are going to help lift you up. Don't keep people around you that are dragging you down. Volunteer at CR or other places. Volunteer somewhere. With the help of God and others, you can recover. Okay, it's possible. You can recover. Doesn't mean that you stop going to meetings. Doesn't mean anything. It means that you have a healthy mind and body, and you can help others. It's your opportunity to give back and to keep working your program, because if you don't keep doing it, you're going to lose it. All right? And again, I want to end with how I started. Relapse does not have to be a part of recovery. It just doesn't have to be a part of it. It doesn't have to end it, but it doesn't have to be a part of it. So don't wait for the relapse. Stop the relapse. All right? Thank you, everybody, for letting me share. That's